1998 was a watershed year. We were right in the middle of the glorious internet bubble. Felt like everyone was rich. And Congress was busy passing laws that the media industries had been lobbying for years. Because digital technology, the ability to transform any type of media into ones and zeros and make an infinite number of perfect copies, combined with the internet, the ability to disseminate those copies across the globe instantly, made it clear that the content industries, aka the media industries, were going to be facing some serious challenges to their business model. So, 1998 is when we saw the Sonny Bono Copyright Extension Act passed and the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Now, what these two laws had in common, besides copyright, is that they were both attempts to give the media industries the ability to adapt in the face of digital technology and internet. The Sonny Bono Copyright Extension Act gave them an extra 20 years of property rights on their copyrighted content, and the dmca criminalized the circumvention of anti-piracy measures. That's right, it made it a crime to hack what's called DRM, Digital Rights Management, which is a fancy way of saying we've basically coded this so that you can't make copies of it. My favorite hack of all time, by the way, is right after Sony DRM protected its CDs. It took less than 24 hours for someone to figure out that all you needed was a Sharpie drawn across the CD to undo the DRM protection. Using that Sharpie under the DMCA had become a crime. The DMCA also outlawed the code cracking software that lets you copy stuff. So if you create a hack that undoes DRM technology, that was a crime under this as well. It also helped record labels win a battle that they'd been fighting unsuccessfully for decades by requiring webcasters, basically the internet version of radio, to pay performance royalties to record labels. So that was a huge win for the record industry. And then the fourth one is what this screencast is about. The DMCA made websites liable for any material that constitutes copyright infringement. Now, of course, copyright protections have been around for, as you know, a long time. So why was this important? Well, they kind of needed this because it was an exception to that year's Telecom Act. The Telecom Act actually included a provision that said websites or ISPs that host third-party content, I think the easiest way to think about this is Facebook, YouTube, etc., were not going to be liable for any of the content that other users put up. In other words, if someone posts something libelous on Facebook, Facebook isn't going to end up in a lawsuit. Although there have been times when that's been problematic, that was probably a really important law to have passed. But when it comes to copyright, we need to make an exception. If someone puts up copyright infringement on Facebook, Facebook will be liable for it. Now, if that just stood alone, that would have halted development on the internet so profoundly. Fortunately, that rule came with something called the safe harbor provision. And what the safe harbor provision did was it said, as long as the website complies with any takedown notices it gets from the copyright owner, they're immune from liability. So they don't have to police it, but if a copyright owner says, hey, that's mine, and issues what's called a takedown notice, the website has to take it down, no questions asked, in order to get that deal. Now, hopefully right now, things are clicking in your brain. You're like, so that's how it works. Yeah, so that's how it works. So that was 96. You know what the Google of 96 was? AOL. Wow, so long ago. Anyway, in retrospect, I'm actually kind of impressed with this because there was no Facebook, there was no YouTube yet. This anticipated YouTube. And I guess it's a good thing it did, even though I still find it fairly problematic, as we'll see. In fact, let's talk about YouTube. 11 years after this law was passed, YouTube was YouTube, as we know it today, and in that year, YouTube had been bought by Google. This probably won't come as a shock to you, but about 5 seconds after Google purchased YouTube, it received a wave of lawsuits. Before then, there was no money in YouTube. The second Google bought it, there was money behind it, and it was a good time to sue. So pretty much all of the media conglomerates, I believe Viacom was at the front of the pack, had lawsuits in hand, ready to go. As a result, YouTube started yanking stuff down, started complying with takedown notices very quickly, and it started getting a lot more takedown notices. And one of those takedown notices concerned this video. On February 7th, 2007, proud mother Stephanie Lenz posted this blurry 29-second home video of her toddler, 13-month-old Holden. As you can see, his older sister was looking for some attention. She did not get it. What Mom was interested in was how cute Holden was as he danced to Prince's 1980s hit, Let's Go Crazy. Of course, as I'm sure you noticed, that song, which was playing in another room, was barely recognizable. And if Stephanie Lenz hadn't titled her video Let's Go Crazy #1, Universal Music Group's web crawler probably never would have found it. But it did, and it issued a takedown notice to YouTube, and for the next 6 months, anyone looking for that video would find a blank rectangle in its place, bearing the ubiquitous YouTube apology. This video is no longer available. Now, this particular case is not about a big bad music label, actually. Universal Music was just following directions. It was actually the Great Purple One, who apparently feels very strongly about any unauthorized uses of his music. I should mention that Universal Music Group, like all record labels, owns the copyright to the master recording of the songs that they release, whereas it's more typical for the artist, assuming that they wrote the song, to own the rights to the lyrics and composition. And that applies here. Universal actually owns the recording of the song, Prince owns the lyrics and composition, and in any case, he told them that if they wanted him to be happy, they needed to yank down any unauthorized uses of his music off the web. And so they abided by what they seriously call their Prince policy. Now the thing is, Stephanie Lenz, she's one of those people that stands up for herself. So she went to the trouble of sending YouTube a counter notification, telling them that her video was a classic example of amateur user-generated content and clearly did not constitute copyright infringement. It was, she argued, a fair use. So at this point in the story, I'm going to stop and set this up like a scenario. So answer these questions. Is the content protected by copyright? Which right, bundle of rights, is at issue here? Can Universal Music prove infringement? So of course here I'm asking you to consider the two elements of infringement before you get to the defense of fair use. So once you're done, post it in the forum, and there you'll be able to get a key that tells you the rest of the story.